Hello and welcome everybody to today's council meeting dated the 17th of June 2026. Just a quick reminder to please turn your mobile phones off, or in case of an emergency please just advise me and switch it to silent. Today, reading the statement acknowledgement, we acknowledge the Bunurong as the traditional owners and custodians of the lands and waters and pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I ask Councillor Tracy Bell to read the councillor statement.
All members of this council pledge to the Bass Coast Shire community to consider every item listed on this agenda based on the individual merits of each item, without bias or prejudice, by maintaining an open mind and disregarding councillors' personal interests so as to avoid any conflict with our public duty. Any councillor having a conflict of interest in an item will make a proper prior disclosure to the meeting and will not participate in the debate or vote on the issue.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Presence and apologies, we actually have everybody in the room today, which is fantastic. I have no declarations of interest. Confirmations of the minutes held on the 20th of May 2026. Can I have somebody move and second? Move Councillor Bell, second Councillor Morgan. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay, councillors' reports. So that all the councillors' reports will be put in the minutes and put online. So I just would like to take this opportunity now, though, to acknowledge a couple of people who were acknowledged in the King's birthday with OAMs, and that is Mr Brendan Condon from Cape Patterson, who done that amazing work that he's done out at the Cape, and congratulations to Brendan on the work that he's done, and also to Bob Johnson, who is a lifelong Wonthaggi gentleman who was principal, done a power of work in all kinds of community events, as well as being a Rotary, possibly a life member, but certainly been a Rotary member for a long, long time. Congratulations to those two gentlemen who were acknowledged on King's birthday weekend. Okay, it brings us to question time, and we have lots and lots of questions, which is fantastic. So here we go, question one. And before we start, I'm just going to let everyone know I've actually got new bifocal glasses, which is probably not an ideal thing to do when you've got to read a pair of stuff, but I'm going to be going like that, trying to get through it. So if I stumble, that's why. So question one, Graham Jolly, and it's the Cowes kindergarten site. And it's the historical closed kindergarten in Cowes is a site office. Will council immediately establish a lease arrangement comprising 50 years at $1 per day for the property with Phillip Island Historical Society for a museum and storage, saving both parties expenses for the benefits of residents and tourism? Mr Box.
Through the Mayor. No, the Phillip Island District Historical Society currently operates out of Burnanite. The Phillip Island and District Historical Society presented a budget submission for the 2026-27 financial year. Council will temporarily support the request while it reviews current arrangements.
Question two from John Kuzma, and it's topic subscriptions and memberships. Council will spend $321,000 towards subscriptions and memberships by the 30th of June 2026. The spending will increase to $351,000 next year. Why is the subscription and membership increasing to $351,000?
Through the Mayor, Council is forecasted to spend $341,000 on subscriptions and memberships for the 2025-26 financial year. This is budgeted to increase to $351,000 for the 26-27 financial year, or 3.2%, to accommodate licensing increases and professional standards, memberships to support operational delivery.
Question three from Joe Warrilow, and it's investment reserves. Council's investment reserves has funds of $3 million for the listing Wonthaggi North East Land Acquisition Reserve. What actually is the $3 million for?
Through the Mayor. In this budget and in previous budgets, Council has contributed $500,000 each year towards supplementing the acquisition of land and delivery of infrastructure required to realise the Wonthaggi North East Growth Precinct. The $3 million is an accumulation of the previous 6 years of investment and is offset through developer contribution funds and will contribute to the construction of intersections and major drainage assets over the coming years.
Question 4 is from Fred Morris, and the topic is Gap Road property. Council owns a large land holding known as Gap Road property. What is the development plan for this site for 26-27?
Through the Mayor, Council has no current development plan for the site. One use proposed is to place a mountain bike BMX pump at the site. Further planning will take place as part of the adopted mountain bike BMX pump strategy.
Question 5 is from Gina Rosamilla, and its topic is restoration works. There is a historic building to one side of the Cows Pier that has been closed for a long time now. It's in need of restoration works. What is Council's plans for 2026-27 for restoration works?
Through the Mayor, detailed designs for the restoration of the Cows Jetty shed and adjacent decking area are underway and planned for completion in 26-27. This will inform the scope and cost of construction works for the following year.
The following questions have been grouped together for a single response as they all relate to the Cows Streetscape Master Plan. Question 6 is from Joe Warrelong, and it's Streetscape Upgrade. Council has a project number assigned to the Streetscape Upgrade to the Esplanade West in Cows. What is the project number and the name for the Streetscape Upgrade for Phase 2 and 3 Thompson Avenue Cows, currently under construction? Question 7 is from Terry Park. Please provide details of the project number with the details for Phase 4 for the Streetscape Upgrade for the Esplanade West in Cows. Question 8 is from John Cantone. When will you release the final construction designs for west end of the Esplanade Upgrade in Cows? Question 9 from Philip Davey, and it's 2 parts to the question. What was the detailed design brief for Thompson Avenue Streetscape redevelopment? And part 2, who designed the Thompson Avenue Streetscape? Question 10 is from John Cantone. When will Council release the construction designs for the toilet block at Olive Justice Place? Mr Box.
Through the Mayor, the Council Streetscape Master Plan is broken down into multiple stages. Council is currently delivering Stage 1 of the Master Plan, which is the Cows Foreshore Precinct project designed by Outlines Architecture. The design brief for Stage 1 was to 1. Connect the township to the foreshore, 2. Reinvigorate the character of Cows, 3. Connect the 2 ends of town, the Esplanade to Church Street, and 4. Create streets for people. The project number for Stage 1 is 100490 and is being delivered in 4 phases. Phase 1, the Esplanade East between Thompson Avenue and Bass Avenue. Phase 2, Thompson Avenue, the bottom half. Phase 3, the Thompson Avenue North top half. And Phase 4, the Esplanade West between Thompson Avenue and Worley Avenue. Stage 1 is currently funded through the Federal Government Regional Precincts and Partnerships Program. Stage 2 and later stages of the Cows Streetscape Master Plan are currently unfunded and have not yet been designed, including the Olive Justice toilet block, which forms part of Stage 2. Further project details, including the timelines and design renders, can be found on Council's Engage Bass Coast project page.
Question 11 is from John Kuzma, and its topic is the Regional Skate Park. Council has $261,000 set aside in investment reserves for skate parks. The $261,000 is continuing into 26-27. The reserve was for a regional skate park. What is the project for a regional skate park for 2020? What is the progress, for a regional skate park for 26-27 in the Bass Coast Shire?
Through the Mayor, Council adopted the Bass Coast Skate Park Strategy Review in May 2023, which identified 2 locations for sub-regional skate parks at Wonthaggi Recreation Reserve and Phillip Island Recreation Reserve. Community consultation has occurred for the design of the sub-regional skate park in Wonthaggi as part of the Wonthaggi Active Youth Space project, whilst design for the new Phillip Island Recreation Reserve will occur in the coming years. Money set aside in the skate reserves will be utilised as matching funding for council grant applications based on design work that has been completed.
Question 12 is from Graham Jolly, and its topic is Carnival Land Turning Lane. The Hilton Chadwick Reserve and the Carnival Land requires a new safety turning lane to be constructed before both properties are developed. Please provide the latest progress report for the new turning lane for construction commencement.
Through the Mayor, following feedback from Council's last submission to the Department of Transport and Planning, Council has adjusted the designs and resubmitted for review.
Question 13 is from Louise Lyle and its topic is the drainage policy. What is Council's drainage policy with the backfilling residential properties with no intertolment drainage where roof water is directed towards neighbouring properties?
I think that's interallotment drainage.
Thank you very much, because I had no idea where I was going with that.
No problem. Through the Mayor, this requires further detail and Council officers have contacted the questioner to seek further details to discuss the specific issue.
I couldn't blame the glasses for that one either, Mr Box. I just couldn't read it. Question 14 is from Bill Watson. Topic is audit services. Council will spend $57,000 towards audit services, non-financial, and will increase the expense for 26-27 to $118,000. Please explain why the expenditure increasing.
Through the Mayor, the annual budget includes $118,000 for non-financial audit services. The increase relates to the EPA compliance requirement necessary every 3 years.
Question 15 is from Ernie Westergaard. The topic is parking. Council officers have been speaking to a small number of community members on the subject of removing car parking along the shopping strip in San Remo as part of the San Remo streetscape beautification upgrade. Please explain with details.
Through the Mayor, Council officers were contacted by community members requesting pedestrian crossings in Marine Parade. The request is being investigated and at this stage there has been no consideration for the removal of car parks.
Question 16 is from Bill Watson, topic Wonthaggi College. Council announced it received a $632,000 grant from the federal government assigned to the old Wonthaggi College. Is the $632,000 to be expensed towards consultants' reports, designs, concepts and the removal of asbestos from the site? Please explain expense details.
Through the Mayor, the grant funding will deliver 1. Partnerships framework, 2. A land use framework, 3. Site master planning and community engagement and 4. A business case. This work will allow Council to become shovel ready for investment.
Question 17 is from Ernie Westergaard and its topic is assets. Please provide a listing of all intangible assets being depreciated for 25-26.
Through the Mayor, Council intangible assets relate to the recognition of landfill airspace that is amortised based on its utilisation. No other intangible assets are deemed to meet Council's intangible asset recognition criteria.
Question 18 is from Sharon Cantone and its topic is the football and netball design in Cowes. Please provide the design details for the construction of a new football oval and netball courts for the Hilton Chadwick Reserve and the Carnival Land.
Through the Mayor, the detailed design for the new football oval and netball courts at the Phillip Island Sporting Precinct is currently in progress and not yet finalised. This is in conjunction with the works budgeted for the 2026-27 financial year, including land rezoning.
Question 19 is from Sharon Cantone as well, and its topic is the pump track in Cape Woolamai. Please provide the final acceptable construction designs for the new pump track at the Sunnyside Avenue in Cape Woolamai.
Through the Mayor, community consultation recently occurred to determine a preferred design. The final concept design will be displayed on Council's Engage page once the feedback from the community consultation has been collated.
Question 20 is from Bill Bun-Ivius and its topic is Wonthaggi Waste Disposal Site. Council is having ongoing difficulties to works with the escalating costs towards the capping of the old Wonthaggi Waste Disposal Site. Please provide a comprehensive report containing Council's decisions to overcome the EPA requirements.
Through the Mayor, Council has worked closely with the EPA throughout the design and construction of the Wonthaggi closed landfill capping project. The project is nearing completion and is in accordance with all EPA requirements.
Question 21 is from Darren Murphy and its topic is dust suppression. There's two parts to the question. 100% of residents must agree and pay for the scheme for it to proceed. Where is the legislation and the precedent that allows our democratic elected council to create policy that requires the approval of 100% of the residents for the policy to proceed? And part two, when this policy fails, as we will never get 100% of the residents to agree, petitions have been tabled to undergo a special charge scheme. Can council assure us that our roads will not be dug up pending those petitions being actioned?
Through the Mayor, this policy will be presented to Council for decision at today's Council meeting.
Question 22 is from Tracy Bowes and its topic is MotoGP 2026. Will Council open the Cows Carnival site for the campers and caravans for the weekend of the MotoGP 2026?
Through the Mayor, Council is working closely with the event organisers, the Australian Grand Prix Corporation. No formal request has been made for further camping facilities beyond what is provided at the Phillip Island circuit.
Okay, and that is the question. So thank you to everyone who took the time to write them and send them in. Number 6, notices of motion. And we have one notice of motion from Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to move this motion that Council write to the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action. Number 1, express interest in entering...
That'll do for just now.
Thank you very
much. We'll get it seconded, Councillor
running.
Thompson. Yep. Has anybody like to second this note? Councillor Temby? Now you may go for it.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Number 1, express interest in entering into discussions regarding Council becoming the Committee of Management for the San Remo foreshore. Number 2, request that while discussions occur, DECA does not progress any merger between the San Remo and Lang Lang foreshore committees. Number 3, request that while discussions occur, funds within the San Remo foreshore committee reserve remain quarantined for use in San Remo only. And number 4, request that a further report be presented to the August 2026 Council meeting outlining the progress of discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Temby, would you like to?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, DECA legally manages the San Remo foreshore. However, the Council and Caravan Park have looked after the foreshore for at least 16 years at our cost. DECA allocated $600,000 for the San Remo structure plan. We want the intended improvements to be made as soon as possible. DECA's proposal to merge the San Remo and Lang Lang foreshore committees potentially means that none of the money to upgrade the San Remo foreshore will be spent here, and as Lang Lang is clearly suffering from climate change impacts, it could get all of the San Remo funds. That risk is unacceptable. We need to be the official managers of the San Remo foreshore to ensure that we can benefit from the allocated funds as intended and have greater ongoing control over what happens in this special part of the Shire. This motion seeks to achieve that outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this notice of motion? Councillor Holstead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Thompson for raising this notice of motion. Council has for years taken on the mowing and maintaining of this foreshore from ratepayer funds, even though DECA has continued to collect the Caravan Park revenue, which was to be used to progress works across the foreshore site. Community has for a long time advocated for walking tracks from San Remo along the foreshore to Potters Hill Road and in the other direction from Foots Beach to Bores Beach. And I understand there has been an offer by the landholder in that parcel of land some time ago where a lease agreement was offered at $2 per year for that walking track to be progressed, and yet we've seen nothing for years. So that's a loss to our community. I think that the state government should be ashamed at their lack of interest in this foreshore site, that they haven't done anything. They've relied on council and ratepayers to continue to maintain it, and to think that there's any strategic reasoning for putting Lang Lang with San Remo is just beggars belief. I mean, it's 40 kilometres away from San Remo. Lang Lang is, as Councillor Temby has put, is under threat through coastal erosion, and there's no reason other than to try and get their hands on the money that's sitting there that should have been spent on the San Remo foreshore to prop up the Lang Lang coastal erosion needs. So I absolutely am very happy with Councillor Thompson bringing this to the chamber, and I'll be supporting it. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holstead. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this notice of motion? No?
Yes, I would like to sum it up.
No one's
Thank you.
spoken against
Okay,
Councillor Thompson, so we'll put it straight to a vote.
excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Put it straight to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Good choice, Councillor Thompson. Okay, that brings us to part 7, petitions, joint letters, deputations and correspondence. We have a petitioner in the room. Stephen, if I can ask you, would you like to come forward and present your petition? I'll give you a couple of minutes to present your petition, Stephen, and then head back to the safety of your seat back there.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors. The petition to close Park Parade Road really has its origin in a petition that came here in August 2020, and that petition will raise the nature of Park Parade Road as a narrow, unsealed road and the increasing amount of through traffic going through Park Parade Road, the speed of that traffic and the safety and the dust conditions. The council decided to set up a local area traffic management plan. That plan was in fact conducted by O'Brien Traffic in consultation with the Sustainable Traffic and Movement section of council. That section had ongoing input into the development of the draft, the final LTM report, which came out in September 2025. The Bass Coast, in fact, adopted the plan on October 2025. The closure is the LATM has left the closure as the only option for to address the issues of Park Parade Road. There's no traffic calming devices that are put in on an unsealed road, and it's clearly been established that speed signs and speed limits and speed signs without traffic management or traffic, I'll get it right, so traffic calming devices and regulation is very ineffective. The LATM actually recommends the closure of Park Parade Road in 2 occasions. In section 936, it says it discontinues an earlier notion of a readjustment or alignment at an intersection, and it raises the closure of Park Parade Road as an appropriate recommendation. It does note that could involve diversions of traffic and mentions 3 roads as a result. Section 10 of the report says, and it's a recommendation, the proposed treatment is to close Park Parade Road at Anchor Road. The performance measure is to monitor traffic volumes to assess redirection of traffic following the closure. The petition is in total accordance with that recommendation. It goes one step further in that it's a compromise. It says close it on a temporary basis and do an evaluation, and we'll take it from there. The issue of the diversion of traffic has become an issue of concern to the petitioners, and this is in relation to, since the release of the LATM, the Sustainable Traffic and Movement section has stated there will be no closure of Park Parade Road as this would divert traffic as a result of a strong pushback. This is a concern to the petitioners in that, as I mentioned, that section has had an inextricable involvement in the whole process of the establishment of the ALTM. The petitioners see that the statement as presenting a position that is in total contradiction to the recommendation in the LATM, presenting a position that was dealt in the process of the LATM and appears to be preempting the decision of council. The other thing that causes concern is that section will be the section that will provide advice to the council in regard to this petition, and the petitioners will have no input or to be able to address that issue.
Steve, if I can ask you to just start winding it up.
Right, I won't go into full, there will be minor diversion of traffic. The through traffic would go through sealed roads that are well accomplished to cater with the traffic, and there would be very little diversion of traffic from the residents of Park Parade Road out of Park Parade Road I seek your support for the petition. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Mayor and councillors.
Good on you, Steve. Thank you very much. Can I, Councillor Morgan, and seconder? Oh, gee, Councillor Holstead. Councillor Morgan.
Thanks, Brett, and thank you, Stephen, for summing that up very well in 2.5 minutes. I think we should probably swap seats. I spent a lot of time chatting with folks in Cape, and the Residents and Ratepayers Association had a really impressive amount of input in the local area traffic management plan that was adopted by this council. I note that there's recommendations in that plan that go directly to this petition. Really happy to see that this will be reported back at the next council meeting, which is a really good, fast turnaround, and I think a quick game's a good game. So good on you, and thanks for bringing this to us.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Holstead.
Happy to support to ensure that we do look into it with a report and it comes back for council's consideration once we have the full detail. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holstead. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No? No? Okay, Councillor Morgan, put it straight to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Okay, that brings us to part 8, reports requiring councillor decisions, and 8.1, the adoption of the annual budget to be presented by Mr Kay. Where is he? There he is.
Thank you, and through the Mayor. So council have prepared a budget and 3-year plan, an annual action plan, revenue and rating plan, and proposed fees and charges for a consideration following community consultation. In response to the 4 community engagement sessions held, council has allocated funding to the Phillip Island and District Historical Society to temporarily support their request while reviewing current arrangements. Prepared during a shifting economic climate, operating expenditure has been impacted by ongoing remediation works at council's landfill sites, fuel contingencies, and higher non-cash depreciation charges on recognition of elevated infrastructure network asset valuations. The budget reflects a balanced funding statement, a $3.4 million net debt reduction, continued delivery of services, maintenance of infrastructure, and continued work towards the delivery of council's major initiatives. The budget has been set within the parameters of a 2.75% rate cap, includes $29.5 million in capital works funding, and includes funding for the Cow Street Cascading Project, Road and Drainage Improvement Program, and the Pavilion upgrades. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Kay. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Thompson, and seconder, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The budget is tight and we are facing further outside pressures that are beyond our control. Increases to work cover premiums, environmental costs, diesel costs. We are adapting plans on a regular basis due to significant cost of living pressures. Like most of our residents, we are not immune to this ongoing pressure that in most cases are beyond our control. We will continue to make changes to the budget due to the tightening fiscal situation we are in. We have had many months of briefings, debates and alterations to this budget. There have been points raised regarding operational spending. I'd just like to point out when we first came into this chamber, we had 4 managers under the CEO. Today we have 3 and the work has been distributed between 3 managers and their departmental staff, saving a large sum of money. We have recently been provided with a summary of staff per department and the programs they run to give us a better understanding of operational procedures. Further, the officers have identified buildings and land surplus to our needs and have sold and are preparing to sell further obsolete infrastructure. We have a large portfolio of infrastructure that requires repairs and general maintenance and in some instances major repairs. I fully support our Island Ward councillors in their endeavour to find more funding for the Phillip Island Recreation Reserve. This is such an important project and deserves to be pushed to the forefront. We do need to seek further areas in funding where we can trim and cut back and preserve dollars for all worthwhile projects. One thing I will not agree to is to raid our surplus funds to get a quick fix and push individual projects beyond our overall needs. It must be remembered that reserves are already allocated to projects in the long-term financial plan. Finally, I would like to recognise and thank Mr Kay and his finance team and all our managers and staff for their input and time in preparing the budget. It has been no mean feat. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and the Finance team. I'm happy to speak in support of the adoption of the 2026-27 budget. This year's budget demonstrates that even in a difficult economic climate, to put it mildly, Bass Coast Shire is continuing to invest responsibly while maintaining its long-term financial sustainability. The budget provides $88.6 million in operational services and $29.5 million in capital works. Those figures represent an enormous investment in our community and ensure that we continue delivering the services residents rely on every day, while also building the infrastructure our growing Shire needs. I also think it's important to note that these investments are being made whilst keeping under the state government's 2.75% rate cap. That's at a time when inflation remains at 4.6% and the underlying inflation rate sits at 3.3%. Council has absorbed significant cost increases here without passing them on to ratepayers. That reflects disciplined financial management and a strong focus on efficiency. And look, I'm not going to go into my shopping list of favourite budget line items. I'm sure you'd be happy to hear, Mayor. But very quickly over in the Bunurong ward, the Capital Works program includes that, and I'm very proud to be delivering the Thompson Reserve Pavilion upgrade, the Oval upgrade at the Warney Rec Reserve, the Surf Parade shared path, along with $2.6 million of urban roads renewal and a further $275,000 for climate action. Also, over in the operating budget, there is continued investment in strategic planning for the future, including $250,000 to assess our environmental assets, $125,000 for climate initiatives, and funding to implement the Disability Action Plan. These investments recognise that our responsibility as a local government extends beyond maintaining assets. We have a mandate to protect our natural environment, improve inclusion, and ensure that Bass Coast remains a resilient and welcoming place for everyone. Of course, this budget has not been prepared in easy circumstances. Council's long-term financial projections remain sound, though. The budget includes a balancing funding statement, debt levels remain comfortably within reason, and net borrowing is projected to reduce by $3.4 million this financial year before further reductions next year. While additional borrowing is planned in future years to support major projects, those borrowings remain well within acceptable limits and demonstrate a considered approach to financing infrastructure that will benefit generations to come. This is a responsible piece of financial budgeting. We're making bold decisions today without burdening the future councils and ratepayers of tomorrow with unsustainable debt. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge the work that's gone into developing this budget from our council staff and community members. Thanks to everyone involved, and I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Perfect timing. Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Would anyone else like to speak to or against? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to break with my own practice and read rather than wandering off into all sorts of digressions and diversions.
That'll be refreshing.
All of them very interesting. Okay, so because I'm focusing on one thing here, and that's the Cows Sporting Precinct. For those islanders watching this or reviewing the commitment of council within this budget to the Cows Sporting Precinct, I do need to assure them that the $50,000 represented in the budget for the rezoning of the site is not the limit to the financial commitment to this precinct. This allocation is for the rezoning of the site. As you heard in the CEO's response in question time, there is additional funding available through the skate parks program. Additional to this is funding allocated to dog parks, among other funding opportunities in this financial year from other projects, investment reserves and project savings. I might also point out that after all those years of waiting, more than 4 decades, it is this council group that has pulled this project into the 4-year plan, with funding for the planning and design within the fiscal year ending and increasing significantly over the next 4 years. I draw your attention to page 92 of the narrative notes accompanying the budget papers, and I'm quoting from them. That's on page 92. In the subsequent years, 2 to 4 of the 4-year plan, the physical infrastructure works can then begin to the value of $5 million, funded from a loan of $3 million and $2 million from Council's strategic reserves. A further $4.5 million of funding has been dedicated in subsequent years of the financial plan, funded by borrowings of $2.5 million and grants of $2 million. All up, there's $9.94 million in funding commitment in the long-term financial plan. So we're underway, it's in writing in this document, and this council will not fail the community on this. The project is also a key project among council's advocacy program for state and federal funding, and with the right preparation, planning and design, much of it well advanced and nearing finalisation, and which such demonstrated need for the planned facilities, the sports precinct is also in the box seat for external grants and support. How's that?
You've actually got spare time, Councillor O'Brien.
Good.
Thank you very much. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I appreciate and wish to thank the quality of the officers and their professionals in delivering council directions. Yet I have been consistent in advocating for a back to basics approach from the get-go, and there is no white horse from other levels of government coming to save us to provide the breadth of what we currently deliver in council in the long term. I also am against using reserves. However, I believe that we've needing to dip into reserves potentially because of our operational costs are so high. As have local governments in other jurisdictions, we need to have the courage to review what we do and how we do it. An example, former CEO of South Gippsland, Tim Tamlin, put together a proposal about 2017-18 for an amalgamation of administration, which long-term would have saved millions of dollars every year without impacting adversely on local representation. I think it's time to relook at those sorts of proposals and others and see how we can take the courage to free up more money to deliver for our community. And there's other projects in today's agenda which we'll get to on that. If there is one thing I agree with the current state government on is rate capping. It gives our residents and ratepayers certainty that there is the pie is so big and we need to cut the cloth within that. And I believe that cloth needs to be focused on delivering core services, core infrastructure that everybody uses, that are not discriminated against on, that are not based on somebody's identity, that they're universal services and infrastructure. And as I said, given that I believe the 26-27 budget is weighted too heavily on operations, we're not even 25% on capital expenditure, I will be voting against the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Would anyone else like to? Councillor Temby.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And thank you for a start to the team for the work that's gone into developing the budget papers.
Who's that? Is that you?
Mr Jolly.
Graham.
Woody Corner.
Sorry, Councillor Temby, but we'll all be down at the Workmen's Club afterwards.
Thank you to the team for the work that's gone into developing the budget papers and providing us and the broader community with ongoing updates and responding to feedback, such as a submission from the Coastal Community Conservancy, which makes a positive contribution to the housing crisis. It's great to see the budget detail and explanations provided, especially when compared to private business budgets. Some challenges include the rate cap, resulting in reduced rate revenue due to inflation and the Middle East conflict, which is significantly increasing inflationary pressures, especially for interest rates, supply chains, services and other activities. The budget recognises that expenditures are occurring at CPI or greater, while income streams are locked in below CPI due to the state-imposed rate cap. These points create a cumulative impact on our ability to meet basic needs, let alone fund additional projects and activities. We'll look for funding to provide greater support for those projects that we consider most important, but that doesn't always happen. I look for logic, balance, fairness and longer-term planning. I disagree with the principle of having a significant rate discount provided to an entire industry sector, irrespective of individual need or hardship. That to me does not demonstrate logic, balance or fairness. It entrenches inequity, and for some recipients it creates a sense of entitlement to a discount that is paid for by others, some of whom are really financially struggling. I'm also disappointed that we don't appear to have a fine for the illegal removal of vegetation unless it's a protected or significant tree. This inadequacy needs to be remedied, both to further increase the fine to ensure real deterrence for damage or removal, as well as deterrence for the unapproved removal of other locally native vegetation. It's illogical that in this time of climate change, it costs both the council and the broader community much more to replace lost vegetation, especially canopy trees, than the fines paid for destroying it. And that's only if you're caught and our council officers seek deterrence.
Councillor Temby, are we sticking to the budget? I know you're loose there, but...
Okay. I was going to talk about parking waivers, but in summary, we're very constrained and somewhat uncertain budgetary position. Despite these earlier comments, I'm confident that this budget provides a financially sound basis for achieving our pared back objectives over the next financial year. Thank you.
You brought it back. Thanks, Councillor Temby. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this budget? Councillor Bauer?
Mr Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting, firstly I'd like to thank Mr Kay and Mrs Taylor and Kennedy, and especially Mr Dillon, in the way that they've helped us come to this point of the budget. There's no doubt we're looking at a tight fiscal position brought about by international factors, the state government cost shifting and a tightening of the coffers in Spring Street. I wish to congratulate, wrong motion. I would like to again talk like a broken record and draw the attention of the borrowings going up from 5.4 to 7.7 million, and that's something that we should keep an eye on. I'd like to now speak directly to the residents of Phillip Island and reiterate what Councillor O'Brien has said about the sports precinct. The whole project has come forward now from the very long-term plan into the 4-year plan, and I congratulate also Councillor Bell for helping us get to this position. And we know from the question time earlier, question 12, that the turning lane is underway, and we're looking forward to the state elections to see what we can get in upcoming promises. In the room before, there was a lot of backward and forward, and I can say, while chewing on a minty, I pulled a tooth out, so I can honestly say I fought tooth and nail to get what we can get for our residents of Phillip Island.
Boom, boom.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No, I go back to you, Councillor
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In summing up, I will reiterate again, I will not support any surplus funds that are allocated to other projects in long-term financial plans going into short-term plans. I also support the Island Ward councillors with their endeavour to get the Phillip Island precinct up and running. And I just want to point out we are really grateful that we got our farmers a lower differential rate, and forthcoming, if you may not have seen it, that we are going into an El Nino, which means no rain. So our farmers are going to be doing it tough for the next 12 months. But thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. We'll put it to a vote. All in favour of the recommendation as it reads? And against? Carried. Can I take this opportunity to thank Mr Dillon and Mr Kay and their teams on the work that you guys have done, your willingness to work with not only us 9 councillors but also the community, and the versatility that you have shown to be very flexible. As late as I think 2 weeks ago, we were still playing around with, well, as late as last night, we were probably still playing around with the budget, but we were still adding things to the budget because of the hostility in the world. So I thank you very much for your work and for presenting this budget. And congratulations to... Okay, 8.2, first person's framework, to be presented by Ms Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek council endorsement of the first person's framework as council's whole of organisation approach to strengthening reconciliation, cultural safety and engagement with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. The report also seeks endorsement to establish a First Persons Advisory Committee to support implementation of the framework and strengthen governance, accountability and culturally informed decision-making across council. The framework provides a structured and consistent approach to embedding First Peoples perspectives into council planning, policy, service delivery, engagement and advocacy. It builds on existing initiatives, including council's work through the Bass Coast Reconciliation Network, progression of the Barith Gathering Place project, and development of council's first Reconciliation Action Plan. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Kennedy. Would someone like to move and second? Councillor Morgan, seconded Councillor Bell.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm pleased to support the recommendation before us today and to endorse the First Persons Framework as well as establish a First Persons Advisory Committee. Reconciliation isn't a single event. It's an ongoing commitment to building relationships, sharing power, and creating institutions that are culturally safe, accountable, and inclusive. This framework represents a small but important step in that journey. For too long, engagement with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities has too often been project by project, dependent on individual relationships or, frankly, just goodwill. While those efforts have been made with good intentions, they lack consistency, clear governance, and organisational accountability. And this framework aims to change that. It provides staff and councillors with clearer pathways for engagement while recognising that cultural authority always has and always will rest with First Nations peoples themselves. I particularly welcome the establishment of the First Persons Advisory Committee. Importantly, this committee is not about council making decisions on behalf of Aboriginal communities. It's about ensuring that decisions affecting First Peoples are informed by their voices, their knowledge, and their lived experience. That's what genuine partnership looks like. This work also builds on a very strong foundation. As a council, we have an opportunity to create stronger relationships with the Bunurong Land Council Aboriginal Corporation, to learn from traditional owner knowledge, and ensure our services, planning and decision-making better reflects the history, culture and aspirations of First Peoples. But ultimately, this work benefits our whole community. It strengthens social inclusion. It deepens understanding of the place we all call home, and helps create a Bass Coast where everyone feels respected, represented and connected. I commend the officers for the thoughtful work that's gone into developing this framework and thank the Bunurong Land Council Aboriginal Corporation, the Bass Coast Reconciliation Network and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community members who have contributed to its development. I'm proud to move these recommendations and I look forward to seeing this framework translated into meaningful action in the years ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with everything that Councillor Morgan has said. This is a really important step for our council and our community. At its core, it's about inclusiveness, acknowledging culture and actively contributing to reconciliation in a meaningful and ongoing way. I wanted to acknowledge the Bunurong Land Council and thank them for welcoming us onto the country a few months ago. It was a really powerful experience and I want to also recognise their continued collaboration with our officers in developing this framework. I think that partnership really matters. It's also important to acknowledge that I feel like this work has been a really long time coming. Other members of the Bass Coast Reconciliation Network have taken these steps. So in many ways, this is probably not before time for a council. But what matters is that we're here now taking this step and we're committing to doing the work properly. It's important that this isn't a one-off piece of work. This is the framework that sets the agenda for continued listening, learning, showing respect and committing to progressing the relationships. It's also about leadership. As a council, we have a really important role in setting the tone in our community, helping to guide our broader community towards greater understanding, respect and reconciliation. We don't have all the answers, but we can lead by example in how we engage, how we listen and how we act. And that ultimately benefits everyone. A community that acknowledges its history and values First Nations culture is a stronger and more connected community. And this framework is a positive and important step in that direction. So I'm confident it will help guide a more inclusive future for our community and I'm proud to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Temby.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I fully support the comments that have already been made. To me, this framework is critically important. We all need to hear about and better understand the impacts of colonisation and address the ongoing issues resulting from that. This framework should help us to make significant progress on this important matter. Well done to those who've contributed to its development and hopefully its full and ongoing implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Councillor Thompson.
Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor. I really appreciate this framework coming together and I think it's a great production by the council and the people involved. The one thing that does concern me though, and sitting on quite a few committees, is the payment system that each member gets paid $200 per meeting per person, and that's $800 per year. And that concerns me because I'm on, as I said, I'm on 3 or 4 committees and none of our committee members get paid. So I don't know what the justification is for the payment, but I endorse the framework and I support it, but I just note that my concerns on the payment system not being crossed across all committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Anyone else like to? Councillor Bauer.
I have a question, Mr Mayor, to Ms Kennedy. Is that true that the participants will be paid?
As included in the papers, yes, and that is best practice and was developed in consultation with the Bunurong Land Council, which is how they do it across all other municipalities.
Thank you. Is that all, Councillor Bauer? Councillor O'Brien?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, I hope that, what I'm about to say, doesn't sound gratuitous because it is bound up in the decision that we have to make. But if we want to disempower someone, and the best way of doing it is to make decisions about them without them. And so that's the history of our relationship with First Nations people in this country, and we can see where all of the failures have come, from doing that, making decisions about them without them. And so this is a wise step, and I think that we're really we're on the right path here, and we're really well advised to support this.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I respect every member of our community, regardless of their identity, and find discrimination, including reverse discrimination, offensive. It is not clear to me how much money it will take to deliver in addition to the sitting fees within operational budget, and if this proceeds, will be the only group that meets aside from the audit committee that is remunerated for their input. Nor is it clear to me how it will assist any real or perceived disadvantaged groups or move forward together. The Bunurong Land Council already exists. Why does Council, whose role is not to discriminate, going down this path of adding to the operational budget and duplicating what is already undertaken by other bodies? Any Indigenous person is open or ready to stand for Council and be elected, just as we all are. We do not need another body. Our core infrastructure and services which do not discriminate on identity is all that we should be delivering as responsible use of ratepayers' money. There is not an area of our existing council services or infrastructure, to my knowledge, that excludes people based upon their identity, and I believe it's a sad day when we enshrine discrimination.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No, I go back to you, Councillor Morgan.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I think best to just put that straight to a vote. I don't think it's necessarily healthy to debate some of those points.
Put it straight to a vote. All in favour of the recommendation? And against? It's carried. Okay, item 8.3, one-way road traffic process for Surf Parade, to be presented by Ms Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. In February of this year, Council resolved to undertake public consultation in accordance with Section 223 of the Local Government Act regarding altering traffic arrangements between Ozone and Garoque Streets in Inverloch to facilitate construction of Section 3B of the Surf Parade shared path. This report summarises the consultation process and recommends that Council abandons the one-way option in response to community feedback. The report recommends that Council proceed with construction of the shared path, and alongside this, the report also recommends continuing investigation into alternative designs provided by community that would enable two-way traffic, formalised parking and the path for consideration by Council later this year. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. I have an alternative to be put forward by Councillor Edwards, which is on the screen. Can you summarise without speaking to, please, Councillor Edwards?
Well, essentially, it's the last 3 points that have changed to the officers' recommendation. And I would like to thank the officers for their extensive work over many years, particularly this year in working with some community members in exploring an alternative option. I don't want to speak to the motion just yet, so we'll just have that on screen for anybody to go through that.
Hey, can I have a seconder for that motion? That alternative, sorry. No? Okay. Councillor Edwards, that time has lapsed, so I move forward. I believe I have a another alternative to be put forward by?
Not to confuse the governance matters, but yes, I have an alternative as well. Thanks.
Just let's go slow as I work my way through this. So, Councillor Morgan, you've got an alternative as well. So, if I can ask for that to be put onto the screen.
Yes, the alternative is as displayed on the screen.
Okay. Have I got a seconder for that alternative? Councillor Thompson. Councillor Morgan, you may now speak to your alternative.
Wonderful. Thank you for your patience there. I'm not going to offer a history lesson today. I'm going to just state the facts. The one-way option was adopted by the previous council. I'm now proposing to overturn that, having door-knocked the residents along Surf Parade, Law Avenue and Ripple Drive multiple times. We have a state government grant with funding to use on this project due to the Wonthaggi to Inverloch Trail coming in under budget. That state grant funding is contingent on us spending it before it gets reallocated. So, I'm proposing that we're going to build the path. Are we building the path and then saying job done? No. Are we stuffing the community concept design in a drawer and forgetting about it? No. My ambition is for the path to be in construction over the course of this summer, and by next summer, the rest of the project to be completed too, thus leaving no more disruption to parking than if the whole project were to be committed to with funding right now. Regardless, there wouldn't be parking along that final stretch of Surf Parade while works are underway. But why can't we accept this community concept design that's been circulated right now? Well, frankly, I wish we could. That'd be great. We're all in furious agreement here. The only issues are as follows. It's a concept design. The concept design proposes an encroachment on the nature strips of Surf Parade properties. Those owners and my constituents deserve to be consulted. And to commit funding, we need fully developed plans with costings and qualified legal advice, which I certainly don't have in front of me. So those are the challenges, and here's the solution. Not a solution, the only realistic way that this project will be completed. So my alternative is, firstly, that we rescind the one-way proposal. Secondly, we approve the use of savings on the Inverloch Wonthaggi Trail to be used to construct stage 3B of the shared pathway. Third, we commence the necessary design of the two-way option with car parking bays, subject to further investigation and consultation directly with those impacted parties along Surf Parade. And finally, a report will be tabled no later than September 2026, which is in just 3 months, to provide costings and a funding approach for the community concept design. Now, let me be very clear. No one in this room is rejecting the ideas put forward in that community concept design. We're working on it. A 3-month reporting date is extremely ambitious. To ask for anything more is to ask for the impossible. So with the greatest amount of respect for my community of Inverloch, for our council staff, and include my colleagues around this table, let's trade our pitchforks for trowels and build the bloody path.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I fully concur with Councillor Morgan. This has gone on long enough and the community would like to see this finally resolved. I look forward to seeing our report in September.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Would anyone else like to speak to?
I've got a question, if that's okay, for Ms Taylor, if that's right, Mr Mayor. Could we please confirm that Councillor Morgan's alternate motion, I think the key difference is in point 4 to the alternate that I put forward, which specifically says the concept design done by Mr Higgs. And the reason that I specifically put that in is that it has potentially, as I understand as a layperson, some cost savings potential. The costing that is coming back to us in September, will that be based on Mr Higgs' concept design or will it be based on something completely different?
Through the Mayor, the concept design provided by community will certainly work as the base, but being a concept design, we haven't yet proved services, completed the survey work, etc. Once that work is completed, there may be some changes required to the concept design that officers will put to council to comply with relevant Australian standards, etc. We can certainly be very clear as to where the detailed designs deviate from the concept and the reasons why when that further report should council resolve is prepared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the question. Yep.
Happy with that, Councillor? Yep.
Thank you.
Would anyone else? Councillor Temby.
Yep, a comment and question. First one is that Councillor Morgan's motion appears to be a risk-free way ahead on this long overdue concept, and I think that's very positive. A query to Ms Taylor, just can you verify that we can construct the pathway without compromising any of the other suggestions that we're making for widening for parking, for underground services, etc.?
Through the Mayor, yes. The one constant in all of the options that have been explored in previous years is the alignment of the path in the proposed location. So we wouldn't see that construction of the path ahead of detailed design would have a significant impact.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Would anyone else like to speak to or against?
I'd like to speak to it.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank Councillor Morgan for his alternate. Obviously, it may seem like semantics between the two of them, but there's not a great deal. I think the consistent thing that we've got here is that we want to get the job done. You know, I think everybody wants to get the job done. This has been almost decades in the making, and we don't want to delay the I think Inverloch deserves to have some confidence around it. This is actually going to happen, and it's the full thing that's going to happen, and not the path and there it ends. And this is hence why in the debate about the budget, I referred to freeing up funds, that we have these things, that this is what we're here for. We're here to deliver core infrastructure, core services that deliver for our community, that don't discriminate, that are there for everybody. And this is one of these things that we've spent so much time and money on consultation back and forth and going down these paths. And the officers have followed council's direction professionally and done that very well. But we just need to really commit and give some confidence to the Inverloch community that this is actually happening and it's done, and the job gets done, and preferably in one hit. So they don't have a construction crew coming in and doing the path, and then another construction team coming in and doing the parking in another hit. The safety concern that I see in doing them separately and having all this informal parking is, at the moment we have informal parking on the southern side of the road over summer. By getting this done in one hit, you will have the path, the parking on the southern side, and then the traffic going both ways, and then the nature strips. And yes, there will be some minor impact on people on the northern side, but not more than what they would if we did this the other way around. They would have the impact of cars parking on their nature strips and haphazard, and the danger of children crossing the road during peak season. Getting this done and getting it done right and in the most cost-effective way, but committing to Inverloch that we are doing this is such a critical thing after so many years.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this alternative recommendation? No. Councillor Morgan?
Thanks, Mayor. I was actually hoping to pick up some debate points, but I think Councillor Edwards and I are at 99%.
There was none, so no.
The one thing about providing certainty to the community of Inverloch that we are trying to push the whole project through as fast as possible goes directly to this alternate that has brought the reporting date to the September meeting rather than December.
Put it to a vote?
With that, I think let's put it to a vote.
All in favour of? Carried. And I'm going to take this opportunity again to thank the Inverloch community. I think I might have been the one that moved to go the one way back in the day. You learn. The community of Inverloch have spoken really, really well and been productive, I must say. I thank in particular Kim, Glenn Morris and Jim Higgs for their constant work in getting the ear of, well, certainly myself and Councillor Edwards and Councillor Morgan, I'm not sure of the others, and finding a way to move forward. It's been actually enjoyable, and it's been very, very productive. So I thank you. I encourage you all to stay on the path, so to speak, because we are all committed to getting this done, and that includes the officers and the staff as well. So it's a slowdown, but it's a conservative way to continue to move forward, and I thank you all for the work you've done. Well done. And I won't ever move a one-way road again.
Your whole life is one.
Hang on, I'm just catching up on where I'm supposed to be. 8.4, adoption of the dust suppression seal removal policy. Ms Taylor to introduce.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present to Council the dust suppression seal removal policy for its consideration. Dust suppression seals were trialled across the Shire between 2005 and 2007. Of the 53 seals applied, 30 remain, impacting 540 properties. This policy establishes a consistent framework for the removal of the remaining seals and provides options for impacted landowners to contribute to a sealed road. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Bell, second. Oh, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to support the dust suppression seal removal management policy. I think this was probably the first major issue that Councillor O'Brien and I were approached as newly elected councillors. Residents came to the three of us Island Ward councillors after receiving notification that the dust suppression seals on their roads, which, as Ms Taylor said, was laid around 2005, they were failing and would need to be removed. And their concern wasn't about the current condition of their roads. In fact, they felt that their roads were mostly okay as they were. They were concerned that removing the seal would be maybe a downgrade. And that was causing anxiety and frustration. So we took these concerns back to the officers, and what we have in front of us today is the result. This plan provides a clear and consistent approach, and at its core, it just sets out a practical response where dust suppression seals have failed. Residents can opt in to replace them with bitumen. I think the most important thing is that this shows that when the community does come to us councillors, we listen and we follow it through. And there is no perfect solution in every case, but I think that this policy is a balanced and sensible way to move forward that provides some clarity and hopefully restores some confidence. I want to thank the officers, Ms Taylor and your team, for working through what's a really complex issue and bringing a clear plan forward. I'm really happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Councillor Bauer.
Mr Mayor, fellow councillors, ratepayers watching this meeting. When this came up originally a couple of months ago, I supported it wholeheartedly, and I'm really pleased to see it come in today as an adoption as a policy. It is a really good deal, $4,000 to get a road. I don't think we've got anything that comes anywhere near the value in our shire. I know some people have spoken to me about 100%. Yes, that is a problem, but the only way we can go forward with this is if everybody's in. And I'm sure that nobody wants to see it drop off because not everybody's in. So my fervent advice to residents affected by this, please talk to all your compatriots in the street, get everybody on board so that we can move ahead with this and have a really good outcome. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Would anyone else like to speak to or against? Councillor Temby.
Mr Mayor.
Councillor Temby.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's really important that this policy has its grandfathering clause because long-term it's not sustainable at $4,000. The cost to the council becomes too great. However, it's a great short-term program and much cheaper for affected ratepayers than the alternative, which is why 100% support is critical to its implementation. It needs support.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Just before I go to you, Councillor O'Brien, I'm happy to chat to you afterwards out in the foyer once the meeting's finished. More than happy to. Councillor O'Brien.
Oh yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, this is one of those things where it's really difficult for council and it's really difficult for councillors. Not everyone can pull $4,000 out of their hip pocket, but I think that what we seek to do in issues like this is to find the find the fair compromise, and most of the residents that we spoke with, you'll remember, Councillor Bell, you know, were opposed to losing their road seals. We brought that back to council because, as you'll recall, that when first proposed, you know, those road seals were coming up, and a lot of them were coming up, you know, so many on Phillip Island, we actually thought we were being thrown under a bus. But where we've arrived at now is that residents now have the option of getting a proper sealed road. Doesn't come with channel and curbing and all of that stuff, but it comes with a proper sealed road for $4,000. the other sweetener to that is that residents can pay that off. It's almost like a lay-by. It's not perfect for everyone, but it's a pretty damn good compromise, trying to look after the obligations of council, you know, not to have dangerous roads or falling apart roads, you know, running around our built-up areas. But it also provides the opportunity for a pretty cheap road outside a property. And look, nothing's perfect, but I think we've arrived at a pretty good solution here. $4,000 that you can pay off.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation?
Yes, please, Mr Mayor.
I'm happy to speak to you afterwards, otherwise you're going to be escorted out. So which option? Okay. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No? Councillor Temby, happy to put it to a vote? Oh, Councillor Bell, it was actually. Councillor Bell? Okay, we'll put it to a vote. All in favour of? Carried. Okay, 8.5, Western Port Woodlands Interim Protection, to be presented by Ms Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to advise Council of a request to introduce interim planning controls to protect the Western Port Woodlands and to recommend Council advocate to the Minister for Planning for timely consideration and approval of these controls. The amendment request, submitted under delegation in May, seeks to apply the environmental significance overlay to the Western Port Woodlands area investigation area as identified in the Bass Coast Statement of Planning Policy. The proposed overlay includes an expiry date of the 31st of May 2028, allowing sufficient time for Council to undertake the work required to determine the scope and content of any permanent planning controls. The proposed interim control is strategically justified and aligns with both state and local planning policy. However, only the Minister for Planning has the authority to implement interim planning controls to prevent further loss or degradation of the Western Port Woodlands, while longer-term planning protections are investigated. It is recommended that Council note the request and formally write to the Minister for Planning. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Would anybody like to? I've already got you written down. And second? Councillor Halstead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We need immediate protections for the remnants of the Western Port Woodlands, which we as a council have identified as one of our top 5 advocacy priorities. Victoria is the most cleared state in Australia, with more than 14 million hectares of forest being cleared since European settlement. This habitat destruction is still occurring. This clearing has caused a significant downturn, including extinctions to our native fauna, flora and fungi over this short period of history. Bass Coast has been largely cleared for farming plus urban expansion and sand mining. The Western Port Woodlands is the largest remnant area of intact coastal woodlands of its type in Victoria. They are considered to be, I quote, of national significance and are irreplaceable. The protections sought are long overdue, necessary and assist our long-term environmental sustainability. Full protection helps with the maintenance of our biodiversity and demonstrates that our unique coastal woodlands are actually important to our values, our science, our local and national community and our economy. This interim protection is urgently needed to maintain the Western Port Woodlands' important ecological integrity and our reputation as natural asset custodians. It needs to occur now.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Councillor Halstead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll keep it fairly short, just to say that I'm really happy this has come to council chamber. I know that as an organisation and as a group of councillors, we have been fighting for the protection of this woodlands now for a number of years, and firstly through the adoption of the distinctive area and landscape, ensuring that it was included in that document. So this is the next step. I would like to offer my sincere thanks and gratitude to the community members, specifically Save Western Port Woodland group, who have been very vocal through for a number of years. We've had them out on the Grantville traffic lights, holding up signs during, holiday seasons. And, I'm sure they will be very pleased to see that we've got to this point. There's still work to do, but I think we're heading in the right direction. So congratulations to all involved, and I will be supporting the recommendation.
Not that we encourage anyone to stand on the side of the road with signs.
Exactly.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm more than happy to support this amendment. I totally agree with Councillor Temby and Halstead. This is long overdue. The sooner we get the Western Port Woodlands under an environmental significant overlay, we can rest knowing this amazing habitat is protected. I also would like to thank the Save the Western Port Woodlands group, in particular Catherine Watson, for her leadership and for their ongoing advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Would anyone else? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, what Councillor Halstead left out was that some of those members stood there naked.
Not that we're encouraging that, Councillor O'Brien.
But the issue here really is the woodlands. The woodlands now recognised as the woodlands. They weren't recognised at all prior to beginning. Well, first was Save the Holden Bushlands and then the Western Port Woodlands. But the issue here is the incremental loss, and it's that piecemeal, piece by piece loss of habitat, which it's continuing to punch holes in the woodlands, and as each time it punches a hole in the woodlands, it puts at risk, the ecology of the woodlands and the vulnerable and endangered species that rely on that on a contiguous forest there. So putting an ESO, across the top of the woodlands and getting the minister behind that is one step to stopping that incremental loss where you lose bits at a time until suddenly you've got a habitat that really doesn't work. We've still got lots of pressures on those there. There are still sand mines there that have got waiting on work authorities, and we need to have some pretty powerful tools in the kit to be able to protect, to stop what's going on there and to protect what's left, and in fact to enhance them. For those people that haven't been up into the woodlands themselves, I'd encourage anyone to join one of the Save the Western Port Woodlands walks to get a really good idea of what it is that's at risk there and why it's so important to save it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Morgan.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll quickly add my thanks to our friends at the Save Western Port Woodlands crew. I think the younger, long-haired, tree-hugging activist version of you is probably disappointed with these words, but I don't have a harness and helmet on today. I have a suit and a microphone, so let's try this. Interim planning controls are under the powers of the Minister for Planning. The approach of applying for interim planning controls while assessments are ongoing is an orderly planning response consistent with the objectives of the Planning Environmental Act 1987 and the strategic intent of the Bass Coast Statement of Planning Policy. So I'm asking as nicely as humanly possible to the Minister for Planning, work with us and our woodlands, please.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No. Councillor Temby, no one spoke against, so we'll put it to a vote.
Put it to vote, thanks.
All in favour? Carried. 8.6 Visitor Economy Partnerships, presented by Ms Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek council authorisation to enter into partnership agreements with Destination Gippsland and Destination Phillip Island through to the 30th of June 2030. Destination Gippsland and Destination Phillip Island are the Victorian Government recognised visitor economy partnerships for both Gippsland and Phillip Island and San Remo respectively. As key strategic partners, they play an important role in supporting the growth and development of our visitor economy through destination marketing, industry development and strategic tourism initiatives. Both organisations operate independently and are governed by skills-based boards. The report recommends that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to enter into partnership agreements with both organisations through to 2030. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Taylor. Can I have a mover and a seconder for this? Councillor Bell, seconded Councillor Holstead. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to support the endorsement of this partnership agreement. Tourism is critical to our local economy, especially Phillip Island, and these partnerships ensure that we're working as part of a coordinated and strategic regional approach. It would have been nice to be able to have pursued a destination Basque Coast model, but like many of the decisions on today's agenda, we are operating within existing constraints, and so what we have for us is the most practical and effective way forward within those. Working with Destination Gippsland and Destination Phillip Island gives us access to their expertise, marketing reach and established networks, which allows us to best position our region and respond to changing visitor expectations. Importantly, this is not just about attracting more visitors, it's about the right kind of visitation. We want to support our local businesses, encourage longer stays, and importantly, I think driving more off-season visitation to balance the demand across the whole year. That will help to ease the pressure during peak periods and support a more sustainable local economy overall, which is something that really matters for our community. The proposed contributions in the recommendation there, they represent a practical and considered investment in that outcome. And the time period through to 2030, it gives certainty over the next 4 years to allow those organisations to plan and deliver consistent outcomes with us as a committed partner. So this is about backing our local economy, supporting our community and taking a sustainable long-term approach to tourism. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Holstead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think I agree with Councillor Bell in regards to I would have liked to have seen a Basque Coast standalone. However, we have been constrained by the state government wishing to do it this way. I will talk, Gippsland does an amazing job, but I've had a lot more to do with Destination Phillip Island, and I'd like to say how impressed I have been by the leadership of Kim Story and the amount of work that they do in promoting especially small business. And we all know that small business is under a hell of a lot of pressure currently, and these sorts of memberships are so important for us to support our small business community, which, stretch it out that it supports our economy, it supports our employment rates. And so I think it's incredibly important for us to be a part of this group. I also would like to say that, it's not just about, as Councillor Bell pointed out, about encouraging more tourism, but it's about giving our tourism providers, such as hospitality, Councillor Thompson and I were at Amazing Things yesterday to see what they're doing for school holidays. So they're promoting very much our small businesses. They're providing support for small businesses in the way of training. There's so much that they actually contribute to ensure that our economy keeps ticking along. And I just can't say enough how grateful I am for the work that they do. And I do know, Mr Box, that they work very closely with our group here, our officers in economic development, Shannon Little in particular. So it's great that we're staying on board, and we're going to get the benefit of that for our community. And I would suggest that, as Councillor Bell has done, up to 2030 gives some certainty. So happy to support this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Holstead. Would anyone else? Councillor Temby.
Just a quick one, thanks. And I'm in the same boat that I would have liked to have seen a destination Basque Coast where our central focus was our own shire and where everyone recognised that the organisation's name represents our shire. But given that that option's been rejected by the Minister, this partnership proposal appears to be the most pragmatic way ahead to build our visitor economy and assist the synergies that should continue to accrue from working with related organisations, businesses, attractions and mutual interest. We should support it.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Would anyone else like to speak to or against? Councillor Bauer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, fellow councillors and ratepayers watching this meeting. yes, I agree with everything that's being said at the moment. But speaking as an islander and destination Phillip Island, which is a jewel in the crown, the loss of the Grand Prix is enormous, and what destination Phillip Island can help to plug that gap cannot be underestimated. Kim Story and her team have done a wonderful job supporting local businesses and tourist operators, and it'll be through that organisation and the Gippsland one where we can get something to replace this enormous loss. And the amount of money that we're spending here, which is 100,000 and 40,000, will be a drop in the ocean compared to what we can bring in if we can work together and plug this enormous gap, which was worth about 60 million. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Would anyone else like to speak to or against? No. Councillor Bell, we'll put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. 8.7, Working Together Policy, to be presented by Mr Dillon.
Thank you, and through the Mayor, this report presents a reviewed and revised Working Together policy for Council's adoption. The current policy has been in place since 2021 and has been updated to strengthen and clarify expectations around professional behaviour, psychological safety, respectful workplaces and leadership accountability across the organisation. The review was informed by evolving psychosocial health and safety obligations, consultation with councillors and council officers, Council's refreshed values and WorkSafe's updated definitions. The revised policy aims to support a culture where concerns are addressed early, people feel safe to speak up, and leaders are equipped to model expected behaviours. The recommendation is the Council adopts the revised Working Together policy. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Dillon. Can I have a mover and a seconder for this recommendation? Councillor Thompson and Councillor Temby. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I'm very happy to move this. Nothing more important than a happy, productive and healthy workplace when we listen and work carefully with respect to all involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Temby.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Anything that will strengthen and clarify expectations relating to professional behaviour, psychological safety, a respectful workplace and leadership accountability across council will assist all of us to find the best solutions to the myriad of challenges we face as a council. Mutual respect, credibility, flexibility and personal integrity are central to the trust needed to achieve optimal outcomes. This policy and associated procedures should help all of us to meet these expectations and should be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Anybody else like to speak to or against? Councillor Holstead.
I will speak too, but I just wanted to make the comment. I think it's sad we actually have to have such a policy, but unfortunately, you do have to set those parameters for some people. So I'm pleased to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Holstead. Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, just briefly, I think many of my fellow councillors know that this is a field which I've worked for many years, and just to underscore the importance of this, more working days are lost to mental health struggles, when as a result of bullying or or all sorts of things, than to illness, and also at a greater cost to the business. So in adopting a policy like this, and and living a policy like this, we're saving money for our ratepayers, creating a really happy working environment.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Would anyone else like to? Councillor Bell.
Yeah, I just wanted to also come in about the importance of the psychosocial safety. There's new legislation that means that we have to have updated this policy, and it's really we have a clear responsibility to ensure that our workplace is psychologically safe. And I think importantly, it means it's really clear about accountability. It's not just about supporting those affected, but about addressing the behaviours that cause the harm. And there needs to be clear expectations and consequences where those standards aren't met. And I think that this policy should go some way to addressing that as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Anyone else like to speak to or against? No. Councillor Thompson.
Put it to a vote.
Put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Okay, item 8.8, contract 21015, environmental health shared services extension number 2, to be introduced by Ms Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to seek council approval of a contract extension option for 2 years with Kerno Environmental Services Proprietary Limited, associated with the current contract number 21015, which is to expire on the 30th of June this year. The contract is for the provision of shared environmental health services through a shared service arrangement with Cardinia Shire Council and the City of Casey, assisting council to deliver its obligations under the Food Safety Act, Public Health and Wellbeing Act and the Environmental Protection Act. This contract continues to represent strong value for money for Bass Coast Shire Council. Kerno has delivered compliant contract performance while managing increased demand across key service areas. The extension will support continued service continuity, shared service improvements and productivity initiatives, providing confidence in both current delivery and future efficiencies. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Kennedy. Can I have somebody move and second? Councillor Morgan, second Councillor Temby. Councillor Morgan.
Thanks, Mayor. Ms Kennedy stole all my words there. Kerno Environmental Services help assist us and some of our neighbouring councils deliver under our obligations under the Food Safety Act, the Public Health and Wellbeing Act and the Environmental Protection Act, which probably means nothing to anybody watching at home. So let me just say that quickly covers like everything from aquatic facility inspections to tobacco complaints and infectious disease management, which is cool. So I'm happy to move this contract extension and get the experts in.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Temby.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think Ms Kennedy and Councillor Morgan have said what I was going to say, so yeah, full support.
Councillor Thompson.
I just wanted to say this is another great cost-saving measure by outsourcing with other councils, thereby reducing our costs. Thank you for that initiative.
Can I just say you have an amazing pen, Councillor Thompson? I've just noticed.
Oh, it's sparkling, like me.
That's fantastic. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation? No?
Put it to the vote, Mayor.
Put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. 8.9, communications, engagement and advocacy strategy, to be presented by Mr Dillon.
Thank you, and through the Mayor. This report presents an integrated communications, engagement and advocacy strategy for Council's consideration. Council has previously operated under 2 separate strategies for communication and advocacy, but given the strong connection between these functions, they have now been brought together into a single unified approach. The strategy supports the Council's Plan 2025 to 2029 and Council's obligations under the Local Government Act 2020. It's built around 6 key stages of define, design, deliver, review, report and refine, and prioritise improving the clarity of council information, expanding community engagement, strengthening advocacy and exploring new digital tools. Community feedback was sought through Engage Bass Coast and in-person engagement sessions and events across the Shire. The recommendation is the Council adopts the Communications, Engagement and Advocacy Strategy 2026 to 2029. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Dillon. Can I have somebody move and second? Councillor Tenby. Second, Councillor Bell. Councillor Tenby.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, this is really good forward thinking for communications, engagement and advocacy strategy, seeking to ensure clarity, responsiveness, transparency, outlining future aims and creating greater community understanding. I think it should be adopted. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor Tenby. Councillor Bell.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is an important piece of work because it really shapes how we connect with our community, how we communicate out, how we listen and how we advocate on their behalf. Good communication, it's not just about pushing information out, but it's making sure that people feel informed and heard and that we're able to engage in a way that works for them. And with growing community expectations, that's really more important than ever. And this strategy provides a clear and practical framework for doing that better. And it recognises that engagement isn't a one-size-fits-all. We need to meet people where they are using a range of methods and to keep improving on how we do things. The strong communication, it builds trust, and that's really critical for us here at Council. So I think this strategy puts us on the right path. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Would anyone else like to speak to or against this recommendation?
Not in either direction, just a statement on the finance side of this. It's not quite clear to me where we've got it's delivered within existing council resources. So while I congratulate the officers on some amazing results in terms of the advocacy, but also to Nicola over there, sorry, I should be using your surname, in terms of communications. I mean, I think that's fantastic. What's happening on the social media side and elsewhere. It would be good to know what is our actual hard number that we're spending on communications and advocacy, so that we know what that return on investment is. So I'm completely supportive of what's happening though. So yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Would anyone else like to speak to or against? Councillor
I'm
Morgan.
happy to just ask a quick question without notice. Well, I've got our finance team here. Anybody got any numbers off the top of their head about finances on this?
No.
Apologies, taken on notice.
I was going to, through the chair, we can take that on notice, but essentially there is items within the budget that
Good choice.
articulate the funding, so we can take that on notice and provide it.
Thank you, Mr Dillon. Would anyone else like to speak to or against? No. Councillor Temby, we'll put it to a vote.
Yes, thank you.
Put it straight to a vote. All in favour? And we'll leave that on notice to get that back. 8.10, instrument and appointment of authorisation to be introduced by Mr Dillon.
Thank you. And through the Mayor, this report is recommending the Council appoint 5 named staff members as authorised officer under the Planning and Environment Act 1987. Unlike instruments of delegation, which are attached to positions, instruments of appointment and authorisation are attached to individuals. This report also recommends revoking the authorisations of 3 officers who no longer require them, and that the instrument come into force immediately upon signing by the CEO. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Dillon. Would Councillor Thompson, seconded Councillor Temby. Councillor Thompson?
Yes, this authorisation gives approval of delegations and authorisations that are in place to allow for the efficient and effective running of council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Temby?
Yeah, it's needed for the council to function. We should do it.
Thank you, Councillor Temby. Almost procedural, really, Councillor Temby. Anyone else like to speak to or against? No? Councillor Thompson? Put it to a vote.
Yes, please. Thank
All
you,
in
Mayor.
favour? Carried. Okay, that brings us to the stat reports. And item number 9.1 is informal meeting of councillors. Can I have a mover and a second? Councillor Edwards.
Mr Mayor, could I move that, and I'm sorry we didn't discuss this prior to, but may, for consideration, move them on block, unless there's anything...
No, we're not allowed to.
No, okay, right.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyway, though, would you like to move 9.1?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
Councillor Edwards, and seconded Councillor Holstead. Anyone like to speak to or against any of these? No? Put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. 9.2, Planning and Building Statistics, April 2026. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Bauer, seconded. Councillor Edwards. Councillor Bauer, you want to speak to?
No, it's fine.
Councillor Edwards?
No.
Put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. 9.3, contracts awarded and extended under CEO delegation for May 2026. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Holstead, seconded Councillor Bell. Councillor Holstead, you want to speak to or against? Councillor Bell, no. Put it to a vote. All in favour?
It's like an option.
Carried. 9.4, receipt of Audit and Risk Committee minutes for the 3rd of March 2026. Moved Councillor Holstead, seconded Councillor Bauer. Councillor Holstead, you want to speak to? No. Councillor Bauer?
That's fine.
Put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Sorry to the listeners watching online, I just whacked the microphone. 9.5, Audit and Risk Committee by annual report. Can I have a Councillor Holstead, seconded Councillor Bauer. Councillor Holstead? No. Councillor Bauer? No. Put it to a vote. All in favour? Almost as quick as moving them as a block. Councillor Edwards? Okay, that brings us to item number 10, urgent business, of which I have none. And that brings us to the end of our meeting. So the next meeting will be held on the 15th of July 2026 at Burn and Eat in Cowes, commencing at 1 o'clock. Thank you all for watching in the live stream and for you in the audience as well. Following this meeting, there'll be a short session outside outside in the foyer where you're welcome to have a cup of tea, a biscuit and a chat with any of your councillors. In the meantime, we'll just stay put for a couple of seconds while we wait for the live production to finish. But thank you. Meeting closed at 2:40.